Jake had been catching bad guys across the galaxy for 10 years, but Tuesday morning changed everything. He sat in his small office, coffee getting cold, staring at a case file that made his hands shake. The woman in the photo had dark hair and tired eyes that seemed to look right through him. Her name was Dr. Lisa Rodriguez.
Yeah.
The file said she was a scientist who had stolen important technology from the Galactic Space Agency. They wanted her back, and they were paying 10,000 credits for her capture. That was more money than Jake had seen in his entire career. Enough money to quit this dangerous job and buy a small farm on one of the peaceful outer planets. The agency boss had walked into his office that morning with a serious face. "This one's different, Jake," he had said, dropping the thick file on the desk. "She's smart, she's dangerous, and she's been running from us for months. 3 of our best agents have tried to catch her, and she's outsmarted them all." Jake picked up the file and started reading. Dr. Rodriguez had worked for the agency for 8 years, helping them turn dead planets into places where people could live. She was one of their best scientists, trusted with the most secret projects. Then something happened. 3 months ago, she disappeared from her lab, taking with her some of the most important research the agency had ever done.
Oh.
The file didn't say why she ran, just said she was dangerous and needed to be stopped. Jake had learned not to ask too many questions about his targets. In his line of work, the less you knew about someone's story, the easier it was to do your job. But something about this case felt different. Maybe it was the way her eyes looked in the photo, like she was carrying a heavy secret. Was because she had managed to stay hidden for so long when other criminals usually got caught within weeks. Jake spent the next 3 weeks following her trail across the galaxy. She had been spotted on a mining station near Jupiter, then on a trading post in the asteroid belt. Each time, she was gone before anyone could catch her. She was careful, smart, and always one step ahead. The other agents who had tried to catch her told Jake stories that made her sound like a ghost. She would appear in a crowded market, buy supplies, and vanish before security cameras could get a clear picture. She knew how to change her appearance, how to fake documents, and how to disappear into crowds. She's not like the usual criminals Agent Tom had told him over drinks. Most of them are just trying to get rich or cause trouble. This one, ... she's different. It's like she's running from something bigger than just us. Jake didn't care about the stories. He had a job to do, and he was good at it. He had caught bank robbers, space pirates, and corrupt politicians. One scientist shouldn't be too hard to handle. His break came when he traced her to an old mining station orbiting a dying star. The station had been abandoned for years, but someone had been using power in the lower levels. Jake's ship picked up heat signatures that meant someone was living there. He docked his ship quietly and made his way through the dark corridors. The station was falling apart, with broken lights and rusty walls. It was the perfect place to hide if you didn't want to be found. Jake found her in what used to be the station's control room. She was sitting at a makeshift desk, working on some kind of computer device. When he walked in, she didn't run or scream. She just looked up at him and smiled. "You must be Jake," she said, like they were old friends meeting for lunch. "I was wondering when you'd find me." Jake kept his weapon ready, but didn't point it at her. Something felt wrong about this whole situation. "Dr. Rodriguez, I'm here to take you back to the agency. You can come with me peacefully, or we can do this the hard way." She stood up slowly, her hands visible. "Before you decide what to do, I think you should know what you're really getting yourself into. The agency didn't tell you the whole truth about why I ran, did they?" Jake had heard this before. Every criminal had a story about why they were innocent or why they had to break the law. "I don't need to hear your story, doctor. I just need to bring you back." But Lisa shook her head. "This isn't about me, Jake. It's about something much bigger. The technology I took, it's not what they told you it was. They're not using it to help people. They're using it to hurt them." She walked over to a wall screen and turned it on. Images appeared that made Jake's stomach turn. Dead planets, poisoned water, cities that had been destroyed. The agency has been testing this technology on inhabited worlds. They're not trying to make planets better for people to live on. They're trying to make them uninhabitable so they can force people to move to planets they control. Jake stared at the screen, his mind racing. That's impossible. The agency helps people. They're the good guys. Lisa pulled out a small device and handed it to him. This contains all the proof you need. Secret meetings, test results, video recordings of what they've done to 3 different worlds. Millions of people have already died because of this technology, and they're planning to use it on dozens more planets. Jake looked at the device in his hand, then back at the woman who was supposed to be his prisoner. Why should I believe? You could be making all of this up. Because, Lisa said quietly, 10 years ago, you became a bounty hunter because you wanted to help keep the galaxy safe. You told people you were tired of seeing criminals get away with hurting innocent people. The question is, what are you going to do now that you've found out the biggest criminals are the ones who've been paying you? Before Jake could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and the sound of ships approaching echoed through the corridors. Lisa looked at him with those tired eyes. They found us. And Jake, I don't think they're planning to take either of us back alive. Jake realized that in the next few minutes, he would have to make the most important decision of his life. Could complete his mission, collect his money, and try to forget what he had learned. Or he could help the woman who might be the only person standing between the galaxy and a disaster beyond imagination. The sound of boots in the corridor was getting closer. Time was running out, and Jake had to choose which side he was really on. Jake made his choice in less than 3 seconds. Instead of pointing his weapon at Dr. Rodriguez, he turned toward the door and listened to the footsteps getting closer. How many exits does this place have? He asked quickly. Lisa was all ready, moving, grabbing files from her desk and shoving them into a bag. 2, but they probably have both covered by now. There's a maintenance shaft that leads to the old mining tunnels, but it's dangerous. More dangerous than staying here, Jake asked, helping her gather her research. Probably not, she said with a nervous laugh. Follow me. As they crawled through the narrow shaft, Lisa started explaining what she had discovered. Her voice echoed in the small space, but Jake could hear the fear and anger in every word. I was working on Project Green Sky, she said, pulling herself forward through the tunnel. The agency told us we were developing technology to help dead planets grow plants and support life. We thought we were doing something good, something that would help millions of people find new homes. They reached a larger tunnel and could walk upright again. Lisa led the way with a small flashlight, moving quickly through the old mining passages. For 3 years, I believed that, she continued. I worked 18-hour days, missed birthdays and holidays because I thought I was helping save the galaxy. Then I started noticing things that didn't make sense. Jake followed her through the winding tunnels, his mind still trying to process what was happening. What kind of things? Test results that didn't match what we were told. Planets that were supposed to be empty, but showed signs of recent civilization. Reports about technical difficulties that always seemed to happen right after we successfully tested our technology. They stopped at a junction where 3 tunnels met. Lisa checked a small device that looked like a compass, then chose the tunnel on the right. 6 months ago, I hacked into the agency's main computer system, she said. What I found there changed everything I thought I knew about my job, my life, and the people I worked for. They emerged from the tunnels into a large underground cavern. Lisa had set up a small camp here, with basic supplies and several computer screens showing data and images. Sit down, she said, turning on the screens. I'm going to show you something that will make you sick, but you need to see it. The first image showed a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green continents. Cities dotted the landscape, and Jake could see the lights of civilization twinkling in the night areas. This is Kepler 44 to be, Lisa said, home to about 4 million people. They had art, music, families, dreams, just like us. The agency listed it as uninhabited in their official records. The next image showed the same planet 6 months later. The oceans were brown, the continents were gray, and there were no lights anywhere. This is what our technology did to their world, Lisa said quietly. In 3 weeks, we poisoned their air, killed their plants, and made their water undrinkable. The agency's report said it was a successful test of rapid terraforming capabilities. Jake stared at the screen, feeling sick. But why would they lie about people living there? Because it's easier to justify destroying a planet if you convince yourself it's empty, Lisa said. The agency has been doing this for years. They find planets with resources they want, declare them uninhabited, then use our technology to clear them out. She showed him more images, planet after planet, before and after. Some had been home to millions of people, others to smaller communities. All of them were dead now. The people who lived on these worlds, Jake asked, what happened to them? Lisa's face was grim. Some died when their planets became uninhabitable. Others became refugees, forced to live in camps on agency-controlled worlds. The agency calls it humanitarian relocation, but it's really just slavery with extra steps. Jake walked around the cavern, trying to understand what he was seeing. How many people know about this? Fewer than you might think, Lisa said. The agency is very good at keeping secrets. Scientists like me only see small pieces of the big picture. The people who make the decisions stay far away from the actual work. She pulled up another screen showing organizational charts and communication. Records. But I've been tracking their communications for months. There's a group of about 12 people at the top who know everything. They're the ones making the decisions about which planets to target next. Jake stopped walking and looked at her. Next? You mean they're planning to do this again? Not just again, Lisa said. They're planning to do it on a massive scale. I intercepted a planning document 3 weeks ago. They want to clear 43 planets in the next 2 years. Number hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. That's hundreds of millions. Of people, Lisa finished. Maybe more. And the worst part is, they're going to present it as a humanitarian mission. They'll say they're helping to relocate people from dangerous planets to safer ones. Jake sat down heavily on a crate. This is why you stole the technology. You were trying to stop them. I was trying to find someone who would listen, Lisa said. I tried going through proper channels first. Reported my concerns to my supervisor, then to his supervisor, then to the agency's ethics committee. Each time I was told that my concerns were unfounded and that I should focus on my work. So you decided to take matters into your own hands. Lisa nodded. I copied all the evidence I could find and took the core programming for the terraforming technology. My plan was to get it to independent journalists or opposition politicians who could expose what was happening. But that didn't work out, Jake said. Every journalist I contacted either disappeared or suddenly stopped investigating. Politicians who promised to help would change their minds overnight. The agency's reach is bigger than I thought. Jake was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had learned. The bounty on your head. It's not just about bringing you back. They want to make sure you never talk. Now you're starting to understand, Lisa said. And Jake, there's something else you need to know. The agency didn't choose you for this job randomly. They've been watching you for months. She pulled up a file on one of her screens. It was Jake's personnel record, but it contained information that should have been private. They know about your sister, Lisa said gently. They know she lives on Tau Ceti Prime with her family. They know about your mother on Europa Station. They chose you because they have leverage over you. Jake felt his blood run cold.
Are you
saying they would hurt my family? I'm saying they've done it before, Lisa said. Look at this. She showed him records of other bounty hunters who had been assigned to sensitive cases. Several had family members who had died in accidents or random crimes after the hunters failed to complete their missions. To catch me, Lisa said. They want to make sure that if you learn the truth, you'll be too scared to do anything about it. Jake stood up and walked to the cavern entrance, looking out at the stars. Everything he had believed about his job, his life, and the organization he worked for was falling apart. So what do we do now? He asked. Lisa joined him at the entrance. We find a way to get this information to people who can use it, people who are beyond the agency's reach. And if we can't, then we try to stop them ourselves, Lisa said. Because if we don't, millions of people are going to die, and it will be our fault for not trying. Jake looked at her, this woman who had given up everything to try to save people she had never met. You know, there's no going back from this, right? Once we start down this path, we'll be running for the rest of our lives. Lisa smiled sadly. Jake, I've been running for months already. The difference is, Now I won't be running alone. The distance, they could hear the sound of ships searching the area. Their time was running out, and they needed to make a decision about what to do next. The sound of ships getting closer made Jake's decision for him. He grabbed Lisa's bag of research files and headed toward the cavern's back exit. We need to get to my ship before they surround the entire station. Lisa followed him through the winding passages, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. Your ship is probably being watched. They'll arrest you the moment you step on board. Not if we're smart about it, Jake said, checking his communicator. I know their tactics. I'll have 2 agents watching the ship and the rest searching. The station, we can handle 2 agents. They made their way through the abandoned mining tunnels, moving carefully to avoid making noise. Jake's mind was racing with plans and backup plans. 10 years of working for the agency had taught him how they operated, and now he was using that knowledge against them. There's something I need to tell you, Lisa said as they crept through a narrow passage. The research I showed you back. There, ... it's not complete. I only managed to steal part of the terraforming technology before I had to run. Jake stopped moving. What do you mean? The agency has the technology split into 3 parts for security reasons. I have 1 part. They still have 2 parts. Without all 3 parts, no one can use the technology. ... But no one can stop it, either. So we need to get the other 2 parts, Jake said. That's impossible, Lisa said. They're kept in the agency's most secure facilities. Even if we could get to them, we'd need access codes that only the top officials have. Jake started moving again, thinking hard. Maybe we don't need to steal the other parts. Maybe we just need to prove that what you have is real. They reached the end of the tunnel system and found themselves looking out at Jake's ship. Just as he predicted, 2 agents were stationed nearby, trying to look casual but clearly watching for any movement. Stay here, Jake whispered to Lisa. I'm going to create a distraction. He activated his communicator and sent a false emergency, a signal that would make it look like they were escaping through the opposite side of the station. Within minutes, the 2 agents received orders to move to the new location. Now, Jake said, and they ran to his ship. Jake's ship was small but fast, designed for long-distance travel and quick escapes. As they took off, he could see other agency ships converging on the station, but they were too late. Where are we going? Lisa asked, settling into the co-pilot's seat. I have a contact on Proxima Station, Jake said, programming the navigation system. He's a journalist who's been investigating corporate corruption for years. If anyone can help us get this story out, it's him. The journey to Proxima Station took 2 days through hyperspace. During that time, Jake and Lisa worked together. To organize all the evidence Lisa had collected, they reviewed documents, analyzed data, and prepared a presentation that would be impossible to ignore. Tell me about your family, Lisa said during one of their breaks. The agency seems to think they can use them against you. Jake showed her a photo on his communicator. My sister Beth lives on Tau Ceti Prime with her husband and 2 kids. She's a teacher at the local school. She doesn't know what I do for. WORK, I always told her I was a security consultant. And your mother? She runs a small restaurant on Europa Station. She's been there for 20 years, built up a regular customer base. It's her whole life. Jake looked sad. If something happened to either of them because of what I'm doing, ... double quotes, nothing will happen to them, Lisa said firmly. We're going to expose this conspiracy before the agency has a chance to threaten anyone. But their plans changed when they arrived at Proxima Station. Jake's journalist contact, Alex Chen, was nowhere to be found. The station manager told them he had left suddenly 3 days ago, claiming he had received a better job offer on another planet. They got to him, Lisa said as they sat in a crowded cafe, trying to figure out their next move. The agency must have bought him off or threatened him. Jake watched the other customers, making sure no one was paying too much attention to them. We need to find someone else. Someone the agency can't reach. Like who? Everyone in the legitimate media is either controlled by the agency or too scared to cross them. Jake thought for a moment. What about the underground networks? The independent broadcasters who operate outside official channels? Lisa's eyes lit up. The Free Voice Network. They broadcast from moving ships. never staying in one place long enough to be tracked. But how do we contact them? I know someone who might be able to help, Jake said. But first, we need to get off the station. I just saw two people who looked like agency agents. They left the cafe separately and met at Jake's ship. As they prepared to leave, Jake's communicator buzzed with an incoming message. It was from his agency supervisor. Jake, I know you're out there, the message said. You've made a mistake, son. Dr. Rodriguez has filled your head with lies. Come back now, and we can work this out. Keep running, and things will get very difficult. For you and your family? Jake deleted the message without responding, but Lisa could see the worry on his face. They're serious about hurting your family, she said. I know, Jake said, which is why we need to move fast. I'm going to contact my sister and mother, warn them to be careful. Then we're going to find the free voice network and tell them everything. Their next stop was a small trading post in the asteroid belt where Jake hoped to find his old friend Rico, a former agency pilot who had quit years ago after getting disgusted with the organization. Rico was exactly where Jake expected to find him, running a small repair shop for passing ships. But when Jake explained what they needed, Rico looked nervous. Jake, you don't understand how big this is, Rico said, checking to make sure no one was listening. Word is out that you've gone rogue. There's a 50,000 credit bounty on your head now, and 100,000 for Dr. Rodriguez. They raised the bounty. Lisa asked. They're desperate, Rico said. And desperate people do dangerous things. Half the bounty hunters in the galaxy are looking for you now. Jake felt the weight of their situation settling on him. They weren't just running from the agency anymore. They were running from anyone who wanted to collect the bounty money. Can you help us contact the free voice network? Jake asked. Rico thought for a long moment. I can get you in touch with someone who knows someone. But Jake, once you do this, there's no going back. The agency will never stop hunting you. They're already hunting us, Lisa said. The question is whether we're going to let them catch us before we can tell the truth. Rico nodded slowly. Okay, but we need to be smart about this. The free voice network doesn't trust anyone easily. You'll need to prove that your information is real. We have proof, Jake said. We have documents, recordings, everything. That's not enough, Rico said. They've been burned before by people claiming to have evidence that turned out to be fake. You need something that can't be faked. Lisa looked at Jake. The technology I stole, if we can demonstrate that it actually works, that would be proof. They can't argue with. Jake realized what she was suggesting. You want to test it? On a planet? On a dead planet, Lisa said. Show them that the technology can destroy a world, and they'll have to believe everything else we're telling them. Rico whistled low. That's risky. If the agency tracks the energy signature, then we better make sure our message gets out. Before they find us, Jake said. As they prepared to leave Rico's shop, Jake's communicator buzzed again. This time, it was a message from his sister. Jake, some men came to the school today asking about you. They said they were from your company, but something felt wrong. The kids are scared and I don't know what to do. Please call me. Jake showed the message to Lisa. Her face went pale. They're not waiting anymore, she said. They're already making moves against your family. Jake felt anger building inside him. These people had destroyed entire worlds, killed millions of innocent people, and now they were threatening his family. He looked at Lisa and Rico. Contact the Free Voice Network, he said. Tell them we have the biggest story of the century, and we're ready to prove it. Rico worked through the night to establish contact with the Free Voice Network. Jake paced around the small repair shop, checking his communicator every few minutes for messages from his sister. Lisa sat quietly at a workbench going through her stolen files one more time. I found something, Lisa said suddenly, her voice tight with worry. Jake, you need to see this. She had discovered a timeline buried deep in the agency's planning documents. The dates made Jake's stomach drop. They're not waiting months to start the next phase, Lisa said. They're beginning in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, Jake stopped pacing. You said they were planning to target 43 planets over 2 years? That was the public timeline meant to fool people like me who might stumble across it, Lisa explained. This is the real schedule. They're hitting 12 planets simultaneously in 3 weeks. The technology is already in position. Rico looked up from his communication equipment. 12 planets at once. How many people live on those worlds? Lisa's fingers flew over her tablet, calculating. Based on the population data I can access, roughly 8 million people. Number hung in the air like a heavy weight. 8 million people who had no idea what was coming for them. I got through to the free voice network, Rico announced. They're willing to meet, but they want proof before they'll risk broadcasting anything. Real proof, not just documents that could be faked. Where's the meeting? Jake asked. Dead space, near the Vega system. There's an old research station that's been abandoned for years. They'll meet us there in 48 hours. Jake did the math in his head. It gives us barely 2 weeks to expose this before they start destroying those 12 planets. We need to test the technology, Lisa said. It's the only way they'll believe us. But we need a target planet that's truly dead, somewhere we won't hurt anyone. Rico pulled up a star chart. There's a system about 6 hours from the meeting. Point 3. Dead planets. No atmosphere, no life. Perfect for testing. As they prepared to leave, Jake's communicator buzzed again. This time it was a video message from his sister Beth. Her face was pale and scared. Jake, those men came back to the school today. They weren't subtle this time. They told me that you're in trouble and that I need to help them find you. They said if I don't cooperate, something might happen to my children. Jake, I don't know what you've gotten involved in, but please, just give them what they want. My kids are only 7 and 9 years old. Jake felt his hands shaking as he turned off the message. The agency wasn't just threatening his family anymore. They were terrorizing them. We need to move faster, he said. Can we test the technology? And meet with the free voice network at the same time? It's risky, Rico said. If the agency tracks the energy signature from the test, they'll find us anyway if we don't move quickly, Lisa said. My research shows that each planet they target takes about 6 days to completely destroy. If we can't stop them before they start, millions of people will die while we're still trying to get our story out. They loaded Jake's ship with supplies and Rico's communication equipment. As they prepared to leave the asteroid belt, Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. I'm going to call my agency supervisor, he announced. What? Lisa stared at him. Jake, that's crazy. They'll track the signal. Let them track it, Jake said. Want them to know we're not backing down. He activated his communicator and sent a direct message to Commander Torres, his longtime supervisor. Commander, this is Jake. I know you're listening. I know about the 12 planets. I know about the timeline. I know you're threatening my family to try to control me. He paused, looking at Lisa. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off your agents and leave my family alone. In return, I'll give Dr. Rodriguez one chance to surrender peacefully. Lisa's eyes went wide, but Jake held up a hand. To stop her from speaking, meet us at the coordinates I'm sending you. Come alone, and we can discuss terms. But if anything happens to my sister or her children, I'll make sure every news network in the galaxy knows what you've been doing. He cut the connection and turned to Lisa. I'm sorry. I had to make them think I might still hand you over. But you're not really going to surrender me, are you? Lisa asked. No, Jake said firmly. But I needed to buy us some time and give them a reason to leave my family alone? Rico shook his head. You're playing a dangerous game, Jake. These people don't negotiate. Then we better make sure our plan works, Jake said. They jumped to hyperspace, heading for the dead system where they would test the terraforming technology. During the journey, Lisa worked on modifying her stolen equipment to work with Jake's ship systems. The test will only take about an hour, she explained, but the energy signature will be visible across half the galaxy. Every agency ship within 50 light years will know exactly where we are. How long do we have after the test before they reach us? Jake asked. 6 hours if we're lucky, for if we're not. Jake contacted the free voice network and explained the situation. They agreed to move up the meeting time and bring their fastest broadcasting equipment. When they reached the dead system, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The 3 planets looked like giant pieces of burned rock, completely lifeless and dark. It was hard to imagine that they had once supported life. These planets died naturally, Lisa explained. Their star went through a phase that made them uninhabitable about 1 million years ago. They're perfect for our test because there's absolutely nothing left to damage. She set up her equipment while Jake and Rico prepared the ship for a quick escape. The Free Voice Network ship appeared on schedule, sleek vessel designed for speed and stealth. Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Free Voice Network came aboard Jake's ship with a small crew. She was a tough-looking woman with graying hair and suspicious eyes. "Show me," she said simply. Lisa activated her stolen technology and aimed it at the closest dead planet. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Energy beams shot from their ship toward the planet's surface. Within minutes, they could see massive explosions across the planet's surface. The entire world began to glow with an eerie red light. Technology is designed to break down molecular bonds, Lisa explained as they watched. It turns solid matter into gas and dust. On a living planet, it would poison the atmosphere, boil the oceans, and kill every living thing. Captain Rodriguez watched in silence as the planet began to literally fall apart. Huge chunks of rock broke away and drifted into space. In less than an hour, what had been a planet was now a cloud of debris. "How many worlds have they done this to?" Captain Rodriguez asked quietly. "7 that we know of," Lisa said. "And they're planning to start on 12 more in less than 2 weeks. Captain Rodriguez turned to her crew, set up the broadcasting equipment. "We're going live across every free network in the galaxy." But as they prepared to broadcast, Jake's instruments detected incoming ships. The agency had found them faster than expected. "We have company," Jake announced. 12 ships, military grade, coming in fast. Captain Rodriguez looked at her equipment. "We need 10 more minutes to establish the broadcast connection." "Don't have 10 minutes, Rico said, checking the tactical display. "Those ships will be in weapons range in 6 minutes. Jake made another quick decision. "Lisa, Captain Rodriguez, get that broadcast ready. Rico and I will buy you the time you need." "How?" Lisa asked. Jake smiled grimly. "By giving them exactly what they came for, fight." As the agency ships closed in, Jake realized that the next few minutes would determine whether millions of people lived or died. Everything they had worked for, everything they had risked, came down to this moment. Commander Torres appeared on the communication screen, his face twisted with anger. "Jake, you've made the biggest mistake of your life. Surrender now and maybe we can work something out." Jake looked at Lisa, then at Captain Rodriguez setting up her broadcasting equipment. "Sorry, Commander," Jake said, "but some mistakes are worth making." He cut the connection and prepared for the fight of his life. The agency ships opened fire the moment they came within range. Jake threw his ship into a spinning dive, barely avoiding the first wave of energy blasts. Rico manned the defensive systems while Jake focused on flying. "How long do you need?" Jake shouted to Captain Rodriguez as his ship shook from a near miss. 7 more minutes to establish the connection. She called back, her fingers flying over the broadcasting equipment. Then 2 minutes to upload everything. 9 minutes. Jake had to keep 12 military ships busy for 9 minutes with one small civilian vessel, and the odds were impossible, but he had faced impossible odds before. "Rico, remember that trick we used to pull during training?" Jake asked, pulling his ship into a tight spiral around the debris from the destroyed planet. "You mean the one that almost got us kicked out of the academy?" Rico grinned despite the danger. "I was hoping you'd remember that." Jake flew directly into the cloud of planet debris, using the rocks and dust as cover. The agency ships had better weapons and armor, but Jake's ship was smaller and more maneuverable. Among the floating rocks, their size advantage became a disadvantage. Lisa watched from the co-pilot's seat as Jake weaved between chunks of debris the size of buildings. "Are you completely insane?" she asked. "Probably," Jake admitted, banking. Hard to avoid both a piece of rock and an energy blast. But it's working. Captain Rodriguez worked frantically on her equipment while the ship pitched and rolled around her. Her crew helped secure the broadcasting gear, making sure nothing came loose during the wild flight. Connection established. One of her technicians announced, "Beginning data, upload now." Commander Torres' voice crackled over the communication system. Jake, you're only making this worse for yourself. My orders are to stop that broadcast by any means necessary. Then you better try harder, Jake replied, diving under a massive chunk of debris just as 3 ships fired at his position. But the agency pilots were getting smarter. Instead of chasing Jake through the debris field, they began surrounding it, cutting off his escape routes. Soon, he would be trapped with nowhere to run. Upload at 60%, Captain Rodriguez announced. Jake's ship took a hit that knocked out one of his engines. Warning lights flashed across his control panel, and the ship began to shudder and lose speed. We're not going to make it, Rico said, watching the tactical display. They're closing in from all sides. That's when something unexpected happened. 3 new ships appeared on the edge of the system, moving fast toward the battle. Jake didn't recognize their design, but they weren't agency vessels. This is Captain Tyler of the Free Merchant Alliance, a voice announced over the open channel. We're here to escort the Free Voice Network ship to safety. The merchant ships opened fire on the agency vessels, evening the odds considerably. Jake used the confusion to break free from the debris field and give Captain Rodriguez's crew more stable conditions for their broadcast. Upload at 80%, the technician called out. Commander Torres appeared on screen again, his face read with anger. I don't know who you people think you are, but you're interfering with a legitimate agency operation. Captain Tyler's response was broadcast on all frequencies. The only thing legitimate here is stopping mass murder. The whole galaxy is watching now, Commander. Jake realized that Captain Rodriguez had been smarter than he thought. She hadn't just been preparing to broadcast their evidence. She had been sending out emergency signals to every independent ship captain in the sector, calling for help. Upload complete, Captain Rodriguez announced. God, broadcasting now across 47 networks. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. We did it. The truth is out there. But their celebration was cut short when Commander Torres made a desperate decision. Instead of retreating, he ordered his ships to ram Jake's vessel. All ships target the bounty hunter ship. If we can't stop the broadcast, we eliminate the witnesses. Jake saw the agency ships changing course, heading directly for them at full speed. There was no way to outrun them with only one engine working. Everyone hold on, Jake said, making one last desperate maneuver. He flew directly toward the largest piece of planet debris, a chunk of rock the size of a small moon. At the last second, he cut all power and let his ship drift into the shadow of the debris. Just as the agency's ships reached ramming speed, unable to stop in time, 3 of the agency's ships crashed into the debris. The explosion lit up the entire system and sent shockwaves through space. When the light faded, Jake's ship was damaged but intact. Of the 12 agency ships, only 4 remained functional, and they were retreating at high speed. Decided the mission wasn't worth dying for, Rico said weakly. He had been injured in the explosion, but he was alive. Captain Rodriguez checked her equipment. The broadcast is being repeated across the galaxy. Every major news network is picking it up. By tomorrow, everyone will know what the agency has been doing. Jake received a message on his personal communicator. It was from his sister Beth. Jake, I don't know what you did, but those men left suddenly an hour ago. They looked scared. The kids are safe. Whatever trouble you're in, I hope you're okay. Lisa smiled and took Jake's hand. Your family is safe. Over the next few hours, as they limped toward the nearest friendly station, reports came in from across the galaxy. The broadcast had caused an immediate uproar. Government officials were demanding investigations. Independent journalists were digging deeper into agency activities. Protests were breaking out on dozens of worlds. Most importantly, the attack on the 12 targeted planets had been called off. Agency claimed it was due to technical difficulties, but everyone knew the real reason. Too many people were watching now. 6 months later, Jake and Lisa were living quietly on a small farming planet in the Outer Rim territories. The agency had been disbanded and replaced with a new organization that operated under strict oversight. Many of the officials responsible for the planet destruction program were in prison. Jake had given up bounty hunting and was helping Lisa with her new job. She was part of a team working to develop technology that could actually help restore damaged planets. the opposite of what she had been forced to create before. "Do you ever regret it?" Lisa asked, one evening, as they watched the sunset from their small house. "Given up your old life, I mean?" Jake thought about it. "I spent 10 years thinking I was one of the good guys, only to find out I was working for people who were destroying entire worlds. No, I don't regret it. The first time in my life, I know I'm actually helping people." They had received the reward money from several planetary governments who were grateful for exposing the conspiracy. It wasn't the 10,000 credits Jake had originally been offered for capturing Lisa, but it was enough to buy their small farm and start a new life. "What about you?" Jake asked. "You regret stealing that technology?" Lisa leaned against him and smiled. "If I hadn't stolen it, we never would have met. And millions of people would be dead right now. So no, I don't regret it either." In the distance, they could see ships landing at the local spaceport. Some were merchants bringing supplies to the farming communities. Others were refugees from worlds that were being genuinely terraformed for the first time. Using technology that helped rather than harmed, Jake still got messages occasionally from other bounty hunters asking if he missed the excitement of chasing criminals across the galaxy. He would look at Lisa working in their garden, at the peaceful community they had helped build, and at the news reports about planets being successfully restored. And he knew he had found something better than excitement. He had found purpose. And sometimes, that was worth more than all the bounty money in the galaxy. The woman who had been worth 10,000 credits to his enemies turned out to be priceless to him and to the millions of people they had saved together.